From the Hill Country in Texas, broadcasting worldwide, this is OneRadioNetwork.com.
Good morning. This is OneRadioNetwork.com. The telephone number is 888-663-6386. Email patrick@OneRadioNetwork.com. Here's your host, Patrick Timpone.
Well, here I am, and there you are, and golly gosh. So, the planet just keeps circling around the sun. God love it. It's what it does for a living. We have these little bodies, physical. We got a lot of other bodies too, and we also have physical bodies that hang out on planet Earth. And we talk a lot about how to take care of these bodies, and we're going to get into that this morning, I think, in both of these hours. Next hour. Sorry, something was going silly here. Next hour, I'm going to be talking to kind of one-on-one. We'll take some calls and emails about the mind, soul, body connection. What I have seen on my inner travels on the other planes of reality, if you will, as you go within, that's where this stuff comes from. That's the only way you get it. I really can't read it in a book. I mean, there are some old texts that allude to a lot of the things about this, but not in detail or whatever. So we're going to do that next hour. And then our first hour, we're going to have fun with Brad Johnson, who channels Adronis, who is on the star of Sirius, and he's been on a couple months before, and people loved what Adronis had to say. And Brad is up in Vancouver, BC, right?
Victoria, BC.
Victoria, or something like that. Victoria, BC. Good morning, Mr. Brad. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, sure. It's fun. So, how often do you actually go into? Do you go into a trance? How does it work?
Well, it sort of is. It's kind of more so that it's a conscious channeling state, but you are going pretty deep into it, into a deep state of focus. If we were to measure it on a brainwave scale, it would be basically in between the aspects of the alpha and theta wave states. So it's basically kind of like a daydream state. It's kind of like I'm just daydreaming. It's like when you're looking at a portrait of art in that way, and you get lost in the painting. That's basically the type of alignment that I go through the channeling state. So you're basically just in this very kind of entranced state of focus, but you're still conscious. Your soul isn't going anywhere. I'm not leaving my body per se. I'm just basically in this very hypnotic kind of state in that way, in this advanced daydream form. And basically I'm just going into the alignment to connect with Adronis. And then he comes through, and it's kind of like a turntable, I'd say. It's like there's my own particular aspect of consciousness as Brad would be in the background, and Adronis would be in the foreground. But I'm still paying attention to what's going on. I'm not really paying attention to the words or anything like that, but I basically get an idea about what's happening. So it's kind of like a conscious channeling state, in the best way that I can say.
Yeah, and that makes sense to me. I work with a teacher who embodies the Mahanta state of consciousness. It's a very wide, evolved state of consciousness, and so I kind of I can understand what you're doing, so you don't lose your own identity, but you tap into this state of consciousness, which is Adronis, and with any kind of luck, he has they have more awareness than we do about stuff, so we learn stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you have 2 cups. Yeah, if it's like you have 2 cups and you're basically pouring one amount of water into another cup, there's still a little bit of water into the previous cup, but most of the water now is in the other cup. And that's more so the idea of the focus. Or another analogy is just that you're in the back seat of the car and now the other person is driving. So that's really the whole idea of just the analogy that your main focus now is connecting to that energy and bringing in that focus and sharing what he has to say.
Yeah, very interesting. Huh? Well, we get some good questions in here. 888-663-6386. Email Patrick at oneradionetwork.com. Brad's website is realitywhisperer.com. Correct, Brad? Reality
That's right, yep.
Whisper. And
Yep.
then a lot of the Adronis transmissions, I guess you call them, they're on YouTube as well?
Yeah, there's quite a lot on YouTube. Also, if you go to my website, there's known as the Reality Whisperer library that's there. I have a lot of my old seminars and webinars there, and there's a lot of great information there. It's being added to each and every month, so there's a lot of information there, something that's alternative from YouTube. But yeah, YouTube, I have pretty much over 400 videos, I would say, on YouTube right now. So there's a lot of information, and again, a lot of it is from channeled advice from Adronis.
Cool. Okay, do we want to go ahead and talk to Adronis?
Bring him in?
Yeah, bring him in.
All right, yeah. Yeah, so it'll just take me a moment or two to connect with him. Just for everybody listening, I do a little bit of light chanting. So you'll hear me do a little bit of chanting in the background. And once Adronis comes through, he'll just give a brief introduction to himself, and then we can begin the interaction with him. So I'll just take a moment or two while I connect with him now. Terra Soul Star Sirius Adronis. We are here at this time, and we bid you greetings, and thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to all who are tuning in to this broadcast being brought forward through your internet collective consciousness. What we would ask all of you to do at this time is simply allow yourselves to get relaxed, get comfortable, and tune in to the vibrations of Sirius, so that you may synchronize, harmonize, and align to all the information that we have to share. Also understand that all that we shall provide today is simply that of our perspective, our point of view. For all knowledge, all information, all creation itself resides within your very hearts, beings, and soul. And so we say hello to the host of this transmission, Patrick. How are you this day of your time?
Well, I am just very fine, Mr. Adronis. Nice to have you here.
We thank you as well.
Yeah, our listeners enjoyed talking to you the last time we had you aboard. We're quite interested in health and healing here, and I have a special interest in writing a book on such, about how we form these bodies. I suspect. Do you have a physical body, or not? Well, let me ask this way: the Star of Adronis, in what reality? Is it in physical reality, or astral reality, or causal, or mental? Or?
All right. Well, the Star of Sirius itself is what you would understand as existing within your physical realm. It is, in that sense, the brightest star in your sky.
Okay.
You often refer to this as the dog star. So basically, our star is visible to you. But understand that you are looking at different spectrums. One particular way is if you had a dial and you were able to turn that dial and see different perceptual realities. That would basically be an analogy in regards to how we are functioning in a different dimension. Basically, the whole idea is that when the dial is low, there are many veils that are hidden from your physical reality. When the dial is turned up, many of these veils drop, and you are seeing yourself, in that sense, engaged and immersed within another particular reality that is with you at the same time that your physical reality is, but because of much of the layers and the veils that are there, you are not able to perceive it. So our particular body, as it were, yes, from our perspective, is physical. But if you were to actually see our particular body in the way that you are seeing it now, through your body, through your perspective, and through your visual acuity, you would basically see it as a, shall we say, form of light, or what you would understand as a light body. Our particular existence is that in what you would know as the sixth density form of existence. And so we are basically, shall we say, existing within the astral plane on a very highly vibrational level. And that, again, our body is somewhat physical to the degree, very, very small percentage in that way. Basically, we function as what you would know as starlight consciousness. And so the whole idea from our perspective is that, yes, we have physicality from our dimension, but from your dimension, it would appear very, very different. In fact, it would be incomprehensible.
So if Patrick were to get on a spaceship, if we could, and choom, to the star Sirius, I could get up there and not see anybody.
Well, we hope that you would have, in that sense, a lot of suntan lotion during that time, because you would have to fly right into the star.
Oh, to even get in there.
Well, the whole idea in that sense is that our particular domain, to the idea of your physical domain in that sense, would not be accessible in that way. It would require vibratory shifts and vibratory, shall we say, conscious movement into another dimension that represents ourselves. So basically, you would need to go through a shift, a particular form of aperture aspect of shifting into another reality to actually perceive us in this way. Therefore, your own molecular density would need to be heightened to a point that would be, in that sense, dangerous to your physical body at this time, because it is a very strong heightening of vibrational change.
So can we conjecture then that there's a lot of this going on in the universe of different planets and stars with souls that have a varying degree of physicality?
Yes.
Yeah. So Venus or whatever.
Yes, absolutely. There are basically what you would know as beings that exist on every single planet within your star system. Now, those particular beings, in that sense, may exist within the interiors of the planet itself. They may also exist in different dimensional fronts as well. But basically, every planet within your star system holds life.
Everyone. So that's why when scientists say, well, you can't live there because of the oxygen or the water or the heat or whatever.
That is more so looking at it in surface mentality.
Right.
When you're actually going into subterranean mentality, the aspects in regards to, shall we say, ecological preservation is much more amplified. So basically, every single planet, every single moon within your star system contains life. Not all upon the surface, in fact, quite rarely upon the surface, but more so within the interior of your planet. This is what many of you are noticing in that sense about installations that you are noticing being built underground through certain moons. The moon of Sirius, contained within your asteroid belt, is one of these particular examples where you're actually seeing lights coming from the surface. This is the idea of an installation that exists underground within that particular moon.
Mm-hmm. So does the vibration or the collective consciousness of the planet or star make it easier or more difficult for the souls to evolve?
Well, the whole idea in that sense is that you have required a great deal of, in that way, induced shifting in order for you to get where you are right now. Basically, the whole idea in that sense is that through much of the, shall we say, unlawful aspects of intervention that have happened throughout many of your millennia, this has basically, in that sense, backtracked many forms of, shall we say, evolutionary progress with your people. So basically, many of you have fallen behind throughout many of these generations of different civilizations that have come and gone. And so basically, because there has been, in that sense, what you would know as a great tainting of corruption upon your planet through your civilizations, there has been a necessity in regards to induced intervention. But it is very much still a hands-off policy, because there has been so much intervention taking place upon your planet, because Earth itself, in that sense, is indeed a unique jewel of a planet, and you human beings are a unique jewel of a civilization. There has been much interest throughout your ancient past as it pertains to other star beings that have come upon your planet and in that sense attempted to pose as gods so that they in that sense could utilize the resources and in that sense also utilize the resources of humanity to basically in that sense further their own ends. And so this is basically why there has been some challenges in being able to bring yourself into an evolutionary platform. The amount of intervention that has taken place upon your planet in your ancient past in that way has been so exponential, it is very rare to see on one particular planet. So the whole idea in that sense is that this is showing how cherished your planet is, and this is also showing how cherished the human race is because of your potential capabilities as a universal body archetype.
Yes, I've heard that from my teacher as well. There's something special about the human beings in this planet that in a sense I think many souls are much more evolved here than they know that they are.
Yes, and you would refer to your Earth as a living library world. Basically what that means is that there are, shall we say, relics and ancient forms of technology and ruins that have existed not only for thousands of years, but therefore millions. And basically, this is, shall we say, a planet that holds a very deep archive of ancient technology from builder races that are no longer existing upon your plane. And so, therefore, the idea of this technology and being able to access many of these forms of relics is very enticing to many.
Adronis is here. My name is Patrick Timpone from the star Sirius, channeled by Brad Johnson, reality realitywhisper.com. It looks like to me when I see things on the other planes other than physical that the human body is a thought form. Well, we souls have created this body through spirit and our mind over a long, long time, and that's why when we worry and stuff like that, it actually harms the body because a worry is a thought form, fear is a thought form, and it sticks in the body. And then we oftentimes just try to take care of it on the physical, but if we take care of it on the spiritual, the whole thing can go away as well. Does that jive with the way you see things?
Yes, understand that your materialized body in that sense is what you would know as a compilation of many different forms of thought forms together brought into one. And so basically looking at it as a type of stabilization field that in that sense represents its existence here in the physical plane to which you know reality is. And when you are basically dealing with emotion, emotion represents a very high energetic voltage. Through this high energetic voltage propagates thought forms that are in that sense potentially damaging to the infrastructure of the stabilization field that represents your material body. So when you are highly emotional in the state of worry, concern, anger, aggression, fear, etc., this basically holds a very strong degradation factor, as we have stated in previous dialogues, that all illnesses caused upon your planet are through the warrants of emotion. So basically the vulnerability that your body obtains in regards to its chemical letdown, where there has been in that sense emotional compromising, basically is what causes certain aspects, as you would know, as diabetes or cancer or other particular forms of means in that way. So it is basically in the idea that when you weaken yourself through the idea of these emotional states, this in that sense causes great lack within integral aspects and response pertaining to the body.
Yeah, it makes sense. So I would suspect, and I'm doing an experiment on my own body this lifetime, that the whole aging process is also no more than a belief in time being real. And
yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Understand that your own understanding in that way, as it pertains to time, is something that you have subscribed to. So therefore, the whole idea is what causes aging is the idea of memory. What actually causes aging in that sense is the aspect that memory itself is time, and that time is karma in that way. When you basically are contained presently, here and now, in this moment, you are timeless and you are ageless. In fact, we would say that if all of you were able to completely exist here in the present moment throughout your entire life, you would not age at all.
Yeah. Yeah, that sure looks sees what I'm seeing too. That's really it's very curious. So though, but it doesn't feel like Adronis said anything really stays still. Something's always moving forward or backward. Do you think that's accurate? Where the cells, it's almost like the cells would be getting either younger or older rather than just staying.
Yes, well, the whole idea of why it is important to be present is that you're actually having awareness of how your body is shifting.
Yes.
When you are actually fully immersed in the present moment, you are actually able, in that state of deep immersing, to actually feel the rotation of your own planet. You are actually able to sense gravitational fields, and you are also able to dialogue with your own cells of your body. Because you are so present, you are able to work very, very deeply within your own physical body to determine exactly the condition of it. Therefore, through omnipresence in that way, being in the now moment, you are actually able to utilize thought form via feeling to actually help to repair your body through conversational aptitude relating to all of your cells. So the whole idea in that sense of the continuity of motion, yes, exists in regards to the type of, shall we say, expression of experience that you want to bring forward upon your planet. Living linearly in that sense is part of a collective choice. And that collective choice is all part and parcel of allowing, in that sense, experience to make sense.
So that would maybe explain, since the beginning of time, so many things have been written about, in the biblical years, or people living to 144 or 200, or I know some beings that are 600 years old. One is Rebus Artars and the yogis and Yogananda and all that. So that's what they have done, essentially.
Yes, and understand it is a very different planet to which you speak of, those great deals of time ago in that way. It is nothing like the planet that you have right now. Your planet right now is more so racked with pollution. It also has, in that sense, much more of a highly technological aspect as it pertains to the societal quotient in that way. So you are very much living in a different time, and basically through the idea of this, shall we say, overage of time, this is actually what has, in that sense, greatly decreased the aspect of the age itself genetically.
But I get the experience, and what I see and is beginning to believe is that as soul, we make it a choice to have pollution or chemtrails or something hurt us, because if we don't allow something in, it can't hurt us.
As a tragedy for you to learn how to heal it, yes.
So as a lesson, so we can learn how to heal. Yeah.
Yes. Think of it in the idea that when you are toddlers, you will eventually fall down and scrape your knee and hurt yourself and cry it out. But then you decide to get back up and realize that you went through that incident to know what you needed to do to stabilize yourself further. While the exact same thing here is happening on your Earth. You are going through many of these scrapes and many of these bumps and many of these forms of, in that sense, bruises, so that you are knowing what not to do again.
Well said. Yeah, that's very, very interesting. Adronis is with us. This is good stuff, folks. Listen up, 888-663-6386. Email Patrick at oneradionetwork.com. Before we go to the phone and take some emails, Adronis, when we last spoke, you talked about a period. What was it? September, October? No, let's see, November. What was it? You tell me. I think through the winter solstice was kind of special.
Yes.
And that's coming up, in a few days, right?
Yes, the whole idea in that sense is that this is what's known as a closing cycle of moving yourself further into an aspect of fourth density. So basically, we would state that through the time of your Lionsgate opening, which was your 8/8/2016 date, and moving further into the winter solstice, this is what's known as a cyclic time that is now starting to reach a state of convergence and therefore amalgamate and seal itself into your reality. So basically, this is where many, from in that sense, whom we have spoken to, are starting to feel some certain effects consciously as it relates to moving into a fourth density reality. Now, this will still continue, and this will happen in that sense more so within the next 50 to 100 years of your time. But through many of you, it will accelerate quite quickly, depending upon the person.
So this 8/8, which will be our August 8/16 through 12/22?
Through the idea of December 21st, 2016.
Oh, tomorrow. Huh. So this was an era, which was, again, a time that was, more souls were just doing more work or opening more, or How would you say?
Well, basically, your planet is going through, shall we say, certain forms of cyclic shifts all the time. But basically, we would state that a very large cyclic shift took place. And this related to the idea of an opening, of a particular transit gate that represents, in that sense, you peeling off more layers of the veil that represents your physical reality. And so basically having that done, this is what ushers in the aspect of a fourth density nexus. So basically what's happening right now is your third density and your fourth density matrices are converging together as one. The reason being is because a new density has been added into the universal framework in that way. Because a new density has been added due to, in that sense, an inversion split of singularity that occurred on December 21st, 2012. Your particular universal mainframe is now shifting and governing itself into merging one particular dimension to still exist within a coherency of a 12 density universal mainframe matrix. So that is primarily what's happening right now as you're going through this hybridization shift between the third and fourth density. So therefore, there is a very large veil unpeeling right now where more of the fourth density is becoming revealed in your 2016 year. But again, there still is quite a long way to go before this is fully immersive into your reality.
So the third and fourth density, so I must have a different, so is that not though from, say, the causal plane to the mental plane? Isn't the causal plane more of a third?
It would be more so on the idea of what you would know as the physical plane into the astral plane.
Oh, okay. So you're
And
talking,
so basically the whole idea.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, the whole idea is that the astral plane is going to be, in that sense, a hybrid dimension in regards to your physical plane. So basically taking many of the higher qualities of third density and putting them together in fourth density to create the new fourth density, which will again be a hybridization of what you would know as existing within something that represents a physical plane, but having much more astral-based qualities in it, like what you would understand as going into your dream plane at night.
I see. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Good job. Let's see. So let's take some emails here for you, Adronis. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. So maybe you just answered this for Brad about Adronis 4-phase courses on his site. In this course, a complete course on his site with everything needed to self-teach, to connect and channel. I connect as I heal now and I am guided, but would rather like a better connection to hear, see other dimensions clearer. Do you understand what he's saying here? I connect as I heal now, and I'm guided, but would like a better connection to hear, see other dimensions clearer.
Yes, well, the whole idea in order to encompass that is that you must make the aspect of possibility as it pertains to dimensions possible, because there still is, in that sense, a great deal of physical restriction as you understand the physical reality. Basically, that means that there is a high reliance as it pertains to a physical template. So when you are able to surrender yourself more deeply and keeping yourself empty, and realizing, show me what I cannot perceive. Mm-hmm. Show me what I do not yet understand. And go into those particular meditative states and just feel yourself, in that sense, transcending beyond a body, not feeling so physical and so solid within this particular domain. As you start to let go of that aspect by utilizing the conduit of imagination, you will notice that there will be, in these particular, as it were, surreal domains that can actually take place within your own consciousness, and being able to access those particular domains by seeing yourself more so in the degrees of light rather than the idea of physical body, flesh in that way.
Which would be helpful for folks who have, quote, dis-ease, unquote, as more light and energy than physical. It would be helpful then for it to change. Huh?
Yes, and we would, of course, recommend for everybody to ensure that you are working with your emotional states, not to bury them, not to ignore them, not to feel that you must escape from them, but being able to face them. And that is the true key. This is what all of your ancient mystics and ancient teachers have taught you, is the idea of being able to confront your fears, to confront the emotion, to achieve liberation. This is what's known as the proverbial shattering of the self, to being able to rebuild yourself up once again, absent of any particular emotions, and therefore gaining the aspect of liberation through the restructuring.
For Adronis, here's an email from Kim. A knowledgeable person told me a couple of months ago that gold is important to man, but it has no value. He stated that he couldn't tell me or anyone else because he and his family would be killed. What? My questions are, is white powder gold a superconductor when taken in the body? Is white powder gold has health benefits?
Yes, the idea would be yes to that particular question. Now, gold itself, in that sense, is what many of you refer to as a resource. In the whole idea, in that sense, this is very much what we would say as the skeletal structure of your own planet. So the idea of precious ores, in that sense, is very much of the metallurgy skeletal structure that represents the form of your earth built in that particular way. So the whole idea in that sense, because it is metallurgy structure, it does hold certain forms of properties that, when again properly alchemized, can assist in the idea of certain forms of evolutionary enhancements in regards to DNA, in regards to one's own physical body, that can actually heal. Now understand, your ancient Egyptians knew this. And basically, they were able to work together in very different forms of alchemical properties, utilizing such substances to what you would know as white powder gold or monoatomic gold in that way to actually cure many illnesses.
That's also called Ormus gold.
Correct.
Yeah, I see, monoatomic, yeah. Another part of her question, what other purposes would gold have other than value that someone that knows he's afraid his life to reveal?
Well, we've already told you that the whole idea in that sense is that it holds very high healing properties once it is properly alchemized to assist in regards to, shall we say, ingestion within the human body.
Yeah. And from a pure physical economic standpoint, we have experts here that have told us it's just been used since the beginning of time as a medium, of a precious metal that people have used for money. And that's why it's considered the only real money, even though the value is just something made up.
Well, the whole idea of why it is so valuable is because it has a finite resource cap to it.
Yeah.
And so therefore, because of scarcity, this creates the aspect of value.
And also it's impervious, and you can sink it in a ship with gold coins, and 500 years later you pull them up and they're okay, that kind of a thing. So,
depending upon the purity and refinement of the ore, yes.
Uh-huh. So do you all have money on Sirius?
No.
You don't.
In fact, many forms of civilizations won't even understand what money is. In fact, you are the only planet that uses it.
Oh, we do money. We're the only ones that use it. Great. No wonder we have such a hard time with it. Let's see here.
Because from other particular beings' perspective, value equates more to love as it relates to the idea in that sense otherwise of what you would know as your ores, which really in that sense from our perspective is useless.
Uh-huh. Here's some
because the only thing that matters is your love, not the idea of resources.
Yes. Well said. Susan writes in a few questions. We'll get to a few of them, and we'll come back if we have more time because she's got a whole bunch here. Do Earth humans have their own access to their spirit?
Of course. All of you do. Mm-hmm. But because there is, shall we say, high indoctrinal societal programming, many of you have, again, subscribed to the belief that you are just physical bodies, that you are just flesh genetic suits and nothing more. So basically, in that sense, there are many different forms of psychological operation programs that are existing very deeply within your own modern society that make you feel lesser about yourself and therefore subscribing. And the reason why is because if all of you in that sense were fully empowered to know how powerful, how capable you all are, you would not be existing in a societal system. That societal system would be dissolved overnight.
Where does the human spirit come from, she asked.
It does not come from anywhere. It simply is. The whole idea of spirit, the idea of creation itself, is that it represents all. Everything is one, one is everything. Now is forever, forever is now. Therefore, the whole idea is that you do not come from anywhere. A matrix of a universal design is an invention created from within spirit. So there is nothing beyond spirit. Everything that is truly that reference to consciousness. So therefore, that is what you truly are. You have no, shall we say, particular location or origin of being. Only if you're looking to play these incarnate games, you have certain understanding of visitor status, but that is not who you are at all. It is the idea that as spirit, you have, in that sense, nothing and everything.
Her third question, what is Adronis's connection to this source, God?
The whole idea is that you are God. That's the whole nature. Each and every single one of us that is experiencing this reality are gods upon ourselves. There is no God outside. It is all of you in that way, because you are your own creator. You are seeing reality through your own eyes. You are truly the perception that allows all to be. Therefore, you are the very God that you have been looking for. It is not something outside of yourself. So the whole idea is realizing all of the roots, the capabilities, the extensions that represent yourself, and being able to acknowledge those aspects of realizing the aspect of God has always been in front of you every time you've looked into a mirror.
Oh, your connection cut out. The last word was mirror, right?
Yes,
Okay.
as we stated, the whole idea is that when you look into the mirror, you are seeing the aspect of God. It has always been before you. Look into yourself. That is where God exists.
Now the question, why does Adronis feel humans need help spiritually to evolve, and what is preventing humans from spiritually evolving? Aren't we spiritual beings?
We are not the ones in that sense. We are not the ones in that sense that say you need help. You have basically sent help out through the cosmos, and we have responded. So the whole idea in that sense is that many of you have felt that you have required assistance to helping yourselves. This is the whole idea of why we intervene. We intervene through the idea of request. We do not say, oh, we must, in that sense, impose ourselves into your reality and help you. No, we have come here because much of the collective is requiring that help to help them realize exactly what they are. Yes, you are all spiritual beings. You are spiritual beings having a human experience, as many of you say. That is what you are. And we are here through your own request to help you, remind you of that.
So people pray and they ask for help, and
correct.
Yeah, and they get
and
it.
This is in that sense occurring a majority of the collective of your planet that has requested this. Therefore, we show up through that sense of permission. We never ever intervene upon a world to where there is not a majority of permission to intervene. So therefore, right now, as it exists, we are a hands-off mentoring, a hands-off guidance aspect in relations to what many of you have asked for in regards to assistance. That is why we are here.
Let's take a phone call on the telephone. Who's this, please? Hello?
Oh, hello?
Yes, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Oh, great. Aloha, this is Bonnie Starr in Maui.
Okay. Hi, Maui.
I am so grateful that you have Adronis on, and I wanted to ask about our near-death experiences and death itself, and is that someone's dream state, or is that a reality of what happens after one dies?
It is a combination of both, really. When you are going into what you refer to as a near-death state, there's something for you in regards to an important state of perception to witness. And the witnessing of what you experience in the out-of-body experience actually helps to alleviate a great deal of fear, because many of you feel that when you, quote-unquote, die from the body, there's nothing else. So basically, when you're going through these common aspects of out-of-body experience, you actually see what exists beyond the physical body, and this therefore creates an educational standard. The idea of physical death, and understand that all death represents is a boundary, a shifting point where you change form. It is nothing else in that. It has nothing to do with the ceasing of life. There's no such thing. Life will always continue because you are infinite. As we've stated, you are spiritual beings having a human experience. Therefore, as spiritual beings, you will always exist. You can never cease to be, because as we've stated, you are the gods that you have been looking for.
Wonderful. And one other question is, what is the lesson for Americans with this Trump man in the White House?
It is not so much about the idea of the lessons of Americans in that particular way. It is more so in the idea of the lessons about what, in that sense, your collective has decided to, shall we say, move forward with. So the whole idea as it pertains to what you would know as your Trump presidency in that particular way is showing you that there is change coming as it pertains to, shall we say, new ideas, new concepts that are going to start manifesting into your reality. Now, we have referred to 2017 as the year of connection. So the whole idea in that sense is that through the aspect of President Trump in that way, you will discover that he will make many decisions that will surprise many of you in that sense to which you never expected. So the whole idea in that sense is that this is what you would know as a, shall we say, release as it pertains to much of the established order. The aspect of this Trump individual is that he is not a part of that particular order. Because he is not a part of that particular order, there are much more, shall we say, aspects of decision-making processes that is actually going to start moving the aspect of the country forward. But again, the entire world will feel this, not just your own illusory country matrix.
So, Bonnie, we're going to talk more about this next hour. Thanks for calling.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
And that was a great confirmation of what was already percolating within myself.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Yes, God works in mysterious ways. If you take sides, you're missing the big picture here, folks. Dana writes, I've been experiencing huge emotional releases this year, especially the last couple of months. Physical emotions, hives all over my body, sore throats, nausea. Just recently starting the process to end my 16-year-old marriage. Boy, he's really going through it. My question is, how can I work specifically towards opening up my intuitive psychic channels more to facilitate my own growth and expansion, as well as channel enlightened information for myself?
All right. Well, firstly, we want to share this with all of you because many of you, again, get very confused as it relates to the idea of channeling or connecting with spirit. It is not something you do outside of yourself. It is not something that you put a tremendous effort into. It is the idea that you are, in that sense, working to surrender yourself to the immaterial. Just as we talked about previously with the individual who feels that they want to connect different dimensions. As we have stated, that the more that you are present, the more that you are able to go within yourself and validate that these other aspects of experience as it pertains to psychic phenomena, as it pertains to working more deeply with your spirit, as it represents connecting through channeling or mediumship in that way, all comes from your ability to strip away the filters that have been preventing that in the first place. And what has been preventing that in the first place is belief systems through emotion. That is the very reason why many of you are struggling to the idea in that sense of communicating with spirit. All of those need to be stripped away entirely. And the only way that that is going to happen is when you surrender yourself and become more malleable and acceptable to other perceptual realms that exist beyond your physical realm. So basically, many of you will notice that you will have moments where you feel that spirit is attempting to communicate with you. You may feel that the energies of spirit may tap you on the shoulder, or that you may hear a voice, or that you may see something in that way. It is attempting to tell you that you can see more of this once you strip away your emotions that are causing this detriment pertaining to belief systems. You have to understand that your belief systems are walls. And you put up these walls, and the idea of intuitive sense cannot get through because you're so highly emotional. The whole aspect, again, to the high emotions and to the belief systems is that they barricade you into an aspect of confinement to making you feel more physical. But each and every single one of you have given validity through being within the societal trance state to allow these walls to close into yourself. And because you have closed yourself into these confining walls, this is what limits your experience in regards to capabilities beyond the physical. So it's about being able to dissolve those walls. It is not a process that you do outside of yourself. If you attempt to look outside of yourself for this, you'll never find it. You'll be wandering a maze. It's the idea that you go within, that you work with these emotions, that you work with these belief systems, that you dissolve them, and that you bring in positive reinforcement of the energies that you wish to experience by being malleable to perceptual realms that exist all around you. That is how you move into spiritual communication.
How do souls know what belief systems they have that maybe they're not even conscious of?
Emotional reaction.
So when they react emotionally to something, and they say, "Oh, I didn't know. I didn't realize I was. I didn't believe that or something." So
Yes,
so that's
the
the
shoulds
clue.
or shouldn'ts.
Yeah.
Yes, the shoulds or shouldn'ts, the aspects that I have to do this or I shouldn't have to do that, etc. All of that relates to the aspects pertaining to emotion.
What's that noise there? Sounds like you're getting a transmission from Sirius. Oh, you're already there. Please ask Adronis about the Antarctic pyramid. Will this lead to disclosure?
The Antarctic pyramid, in that sense, well, that's just one particular structure of many that exists within Antarctica. Now, basically, as we have talked about before, is the land of Antarctica is, in that sense, part of what you would know as your Atlantean times, to where it once existed as what you would know as the law of one philosophers that once existed upon that land. Many different forms of structures were created upon that land. After the destruction of Atlantis, this particular land, in that sense, started to sail off more so to the southern areas of your planet. So basically, you could state that in confirmation, yes, Antarctica is a remnant of Atlantis. So basically, in that way, yes. Basically, in that way, a very large landmass that represents Atlantis is Antarctica. So basically, this is the big disclosure. Edgar Cayce, one of your great psychics in that sense, stated that during the times ahead that the idea of Atlantis would rise, not so much from the ocean, but out of the ice.
Oh, Edgar Cayce said that, out of the ice, huh?
Not so much out of the ice, we are paraphrasing. He would state more so that it was rising out of the ocean, but if we were to correct that idea, it would actually be moving, in that sense, rising out of the ice. So basically, in that sense, what is happening through excavation is the idea that, again, this is what's being revealed in regards to a remnant of Atlantean times, to where many different structures are. Now, there is, in that sense, talk about Atlantis being revealed to the public, again, disguised as Antarctica in that particular way. This is something that is a possibility right now. There is no 100% assurance that this may actually take place. It may take a little bit longer, or it may come in together in due course. But eventually, yes, this will be revealed to your public domain.
Can you conjecture how long ago in Earth years Atlantis and Lemuria were above water and doing their thing and alive? And
Well, you're talking about two distinct eras here at this time. Now, basically, in that sense, the aspect of Atlantis, in that sense, through the idea of much of its disaster, occurred between what you would know as 12,000 to 14,000 years ago. The idea in that sense during that earlier time is that Atlantean also faced other particular aspects of pre-disasters, but nowhere near to the level in regards to what took place during that time. Basically, in that sense, what you would know as almost an instant form of ice age in that particular time that encapsulated much of the central point to where Atlantis once existed. Lemuria, in that sense, is much more of what you would know as being ancient, going back several hundred thousands of years. So basically, in that sense, before Atlantis, Mu was more so, in that sense, the capital as what you would know as a planet at that time. It was very much more indigenous, very similar to how your Native Americans lived.
Jolie writes in, she's in Phoenix. For Adronis, you recently talked about the Hybrid Children program and that there was a group of the YAHEL that did
The YAHEL, yes.
How do you say it?
YAHEL.
YAHEL, that did not have anything to do with the Zeta hybridization program. You speak more about this group of YAHEL.
The YAHEL had a great deal to do with the Zeta program because they were the byproduct, in that sense, of what is being created through the Zeta program. What we are basically stating is that much of the YAHEL civilization as it exists right now decided to withdraw from the beings that you would know as the Zeta or the Greys because there is no vibratory cohesion in order for them to remain together because of the differences of agendas.
What is the best way, writes John, to tap into our untapped superhuman potential that you mentioned earlier?
We've already told you. The whole idea in regards to how you can tap into your potential is being present here and now, dissolving the belief systems. The only reason why many of you are not tapping into this is because you have belief system filters scattered all around you. And because you have many of them scattered all around you, they limit the aspect of knowledge. because you are basically, in that sense, recycling programs, like what you would understand on your planet in regards to more of a retro aspect of analogy, a broken record that keeps spinning. So the whole idea here in this particular way is helping yourselves to surrender, is letting yourselves look into these emotions that have been preventing you from expanding. When these belief systems are dropped, the aspect of infinite intelligence now becomes your greatest ally. You are now flowing within that aspect of infinite intelligence. And this is basically through the idea of potentiated super abilities, as you term it, which really, from our perspective, is just a natural human ability. That becomes much more prominent within your reality because you have surrendered yourself to realizing there is more than a physical realm. There is more than a societal complex. There is more than belief systems. When you completely surrender, the aspects of your potential are heightened exponentially. That is what you need to do. Surrender yourself. Let the emotions themselves be worked on. Let yourself take down the barriers of belief systems and apply positive reinforcement. That is how it's done. There is no magical way outside of yourself to do this.
Mm-hmm. So finally, let's talk a little bit about the future 2017. So so you're saying this Trump presidency, all the financial things going on, some of the challenges, this is all part and parcel of a new kind of era of more opening, more expansion, actually more spiritual growth.
Yes, that is precisely it. Now, the whole idea of why we say that is because there are no particular forms of what you would know as Kabbalist agendas that are intertwined through the idea of what you would know as a Trump presidency. The aspect of the being that you would know as Trump is basically, in that sense, a representative as it pertains to an Earth alliance. And this particular Earth alliance is associated with 180 different countries across your entire planet. Therefore, you will discover that there will be much more unity. However, there will still be, shall we say, bait and switch operations to where it feels that your President Trump, in that sense, has agendas that would harm many in that sense. So basically, you would understand that these are slander campaigns. And they will still continue because much of the remnants, as what you would know as these Kabbalists, are still attempting to stir the pot. So that will still take place throughout many of your years ahead. Again, moving more so into what is known as the span of change, 2016 to 2024. So the whole idea of these remnants is that they are attempting to create self-sabotage. You will discover this through the idea of the psychological operation that many of you have referred to as fake news. So the whole idea in that sense is that this is a psyop, a psychological operation to make it feel that the corporate media and the corporate agenda is the only true, genuine nature, when in fact that is the greatest distortion of all.
Hence the 1984 work, 30, 40 years ago or 50 years ago. Similar kind of an idea. So it's all good. Spirit is working the best it can through us.
Correct.
No. Well,
always.
You can't beat that, right? Thanks a lot. We really appreciate you being here. And
we thank you.
Yeah.
We thank you as well for the opportunity of this interaction. We will now conclude this transmission and we will return to the conduit. We will speak to you again, as now is forever and all is one. Goodbye for now. All right. Hey, guys, I'm back.
Well, Mr. Brad, good job. That was fun. Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, you then, obviously, you hear and in tune with every time you do this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I said, it's like you're looking at a portrait of art and you're kind of just in that kind of trance state, just where that portrait of art is now your reality. You certainly hear things and you experience things, but you're just more focused on looking deeper into the artwork itself. So that's very much my perspective of when I connect with Adronis. I'm just very focused on his energy. I'm just focused in becoming a stable channel as best as I can. And but yeah, I know words are being said. I'm not really paying attention to a lot of stuff, but I understand certain concepts that are being talked about. So usually when this happens, I look back at the recording and say, oh, okay, yeah, here's exactly what was being said. So like I've heard about, the aspects that all our planets and moons have life and all of that, but not exactly looking back to every word that's being said.
I see. Well, we'll have this podcast up in a couple of hours and you can check it out. And thanks for being here. You have a happy holiday season up there in BC, and we'll keep in touch. And if you'd like to learn more about Adronis and Brad's work, it is realitywhisperer.com. Also on YouTube channels, you'll hear a lot of the audios, and it's really great stuff. And
Yeah, absolutely. There's also a new session that I've created, which is known as light circuitry attunements, and these have actually been almost instant healing effects through it, because we actually work with emotion, and through a lot of the sessions that I've done with people, I've seen them like instantly dissolve these emotional barriers that they've had for years. And so this is a really strong, revolutionary new healing system that I've developed. And again, it's called light circuitry attunements. You can find out more about that on my website, realitywhisperer.com.
light circuitry attunements on
Yeah.
this website.
Yeah.
Then you do individual sessions with people.
Yeah, individual sessions. They basically tell me what emotions are strongest within their body. We basically go through a process where we help to bring out that emotion and really start to accept it for what it is, not attempting to change it or manipulate it, and being able to go through this full state of acceptance, then going through this process where we release it entirely. And then basically you get another result, which represents liberation. And people have had this, again, something that has been with them for 20, 30, 40 years, gone within that instant. And this is, again, has just been a really, really powerful system. So I recommend everybody go ahead and check it out. It's really amazing. I've seen what you could consider to be miraculous effects take place.
Wow, that's cool. Very good. All right, sir, thanks again. We may the blessings be.
Thank you so much. Take care.